I have a package from a new company now. This is a company that I don't really know too much about. I heard it from Technology Connextras, or Connections, like a lot of people, I'm sure. These are the Vintaglo Christmas lights. I don't exactly remember. So the pre-order was pretty nice. You could go online and see where you were in the shipping queue. Oh, these are cool. And you can kind of get an idea of when they were going to be shipped, and it said about the middle of November, and here we are, and they came. So Vintaglow, that's what they're called. I forgot. I think there's a different name now than when I originally ordered them, but I ordered 4 colored and 2 white. Probably should have planned out a little bit better what I was going to order. So these are multicolor, and then there should be 2 white, and there is a sticker. So just kind of like True Tone, there's a sticker. So the sticker is a bell ring in the traditions every Christmas. So that's pretty cool. I was curious if there'd be a sticker, to be honest. So we know that True Tone doesn't make a mini bulb at the time that I'm making this. So this is what we have here. So I had, like I said, I got 2 just whites because I want to see what white looks like. And then I got 2 colored. Looks like it's red, blue, yellow, and green. And so we have going to take these out and let's look at them real quick. So I kind of wish I would have got like 1 color, but that's just on me. I kind of got an impulse buy when I ordered these. So let's look at this. This is the multicolored. Oh, it looks like the old sets, so that's good. Definitely still has the, I don't even know what you call these for the LED parts, but that's going to be in there. They might be plastic. I guess I assumed that they were glass. So it looks like they're plastic, which is fine, not a big deal. Plug in on both ends. There is a fuse on this end. So there's the colors, blue and green on one side. Has the little Vintaglo logo on the end of the wire, so that's kind of cool. You know, some of these things, I'm really just more about how the light looks, but some people really want them to look as vintage as you can. So those are the colored. We'll turn these on in a minute. But now let's look at the white lights. This box is kind of cool. But the most important thing is how is it going to look when it gets dark? So we'll come do that in a little bit. But here's the white. It almost, my first impression when I took it out, it looked plastic. Pretty sure it's plastic. It almost looked a little bit foggy on the plastic, not like clear when you have glass. Like there's a little bit of a, like a film or something. So, but if you look on the inside, it's probably kind of hard to see. Maybe I'll have to switch cameras. But there is the LED diode down here on the bottom. So it doesn't really go all the way up the light. So we'll see what it looks like when it turns on. But there's the white. They do, just my real quick assumption is they look, but it doesn't really matter what it looks like when they're off. So, but like I said, it's almost like I thought it would be clear for white, but maybe in just my mind. There is a instructions, and I think there was a, yes, spare parts piece. So now we're going to plug these in. We'll come back in a little bit when it gets dark, and I'll try to switch to my nicer camera and see how these look. All right, here we have a whole bunch of lights plugged in. I have the incandescent on the side, blue, green, and red, and then I have the multicolor Vintaglow LED in the middle. So just a real quick overview, but when you just have them all on, you can see that it's kind of hard to see what colors or which colors are LED and which colors are incandescent. So, you know, cameras can make it kind of hard to see, but by putting them all on at one time, you can at least know if they look the same on the camera, they probably look the same in real life. But real quick, let's look at the bulb. So one thing I was kind of curious about is how it would look because the LED was so far down in the bottom. But as you can see, it fills it up pretty good. Not really much of a problem compared to, let's say, a green right here. So it actually has a little bit more color towards the top than this incandescent green. And these are just cheap ones from Lowe's that I bought a few years ago. So that actually looks a lot better than I was thinking. So once you plug them in, You know, that's really what counts, is how they look when it's dark. But there's the yellow right there, and it looks pretty cool. So let's compare some of the colors real quick. And let's start with blue, because blue is my favorite color when it comes to incandescent bulbs. And blue is always hard to get. I know there's a whole science behind it, and other channels that give you that information better than I can, because I don't know all that stuff. So I'm just going to plug in the blue. Like, I didn't plan this video out, so we're just going to test it. So here are the two blues. See if you can tell which is which. So I have to actually double check. This is the incandescent right here, and this is the LED. So it's actually maybe a little bit darker. If you look from the top, like I said, I used these blue last year, and so some of the paint has chipped off on these quite a bit. So from the top, they look about the same. From the side, the blue looks really good. Maybe it's a little bit darker, but part of that could be because I've used these and it's chipped off. And like I said, these are plastic, so maybe they won't chip because they're plastic. So that could be a benefit, because here is a blue and then the whole blue has come off and it's just a white right there. We'll use that white to compare the other ones. So now let's do a green. We'll plug in the green. There's red. Well, let's just do red then. So here's red LED, and here is a red incandescent. Same thing, looks good. Actually, the red looks a lot better because mine have definitely chipped off on my incandescent bulbs. They almost look kind of pink, but that looks amazing. Look at that. That's cool. So I actually like the red. They're not too bright, and so sometimes you get LED, they're just way too bright, and it looks terrible. So now let's do the green. If I can figure out where to plug it in. Must be. I'm just having fun checking them out tonight. So let's plug in this green. I'm also going to show you an LED green that I have that honestly is just terrible. So unplug that blue. So here's green. Green looks good. I like the way green looks. And then here is the LED green. So on the camera, it definitely looks darker. It actually looks darker in real life too. So here's green, kind of looks blue on the camera. I don't know if it will on your screen, but this definitely is a darker green because there's just more like dye on the cap, it looks like. But you can definitely tell it's green. So this is actually almost a better green on the LED than the incandescent. And let me plug in, this is gonna hurt because I hate this, but this is an LED from Walmart. Absolutely awful. That's why they're still wrapped up. I don't even like this. These are cheap. They are flickering as they're on. You can probably see it. I'm doing 60 FPS. I'm not sure if these are fully rectified, but I'm not getting any flicker out of the LED ones from Vintaglow, but these are cheap Walmart. I'm gonna turn those off because these hurt my eyes and I don't like that at all. So see how much dimmer they get, which I don't actually want them to be too bright. So let's unplug this, and here is just the Vintaglow lights. Look at that, see? Awesome. I like that. It actually has like a nice glow. It's not too bright. Probably got a lot darker now that I turned off all the lights, but as you can see them. Let's see if we can put them up together. So we have green, blue, red, yellow, Vintaglow right there. All right, now that those are done, let's plug in the white Vintaglow. These are definitely brighter. So just looking real quick, Don't really see a flicker. Feel like I've seen some decent LED white like this. So this isn't really life changing to me. I think the colored ones definitely look more vintage than this white. Looks pretty normal. And here's just the white incandescent bulb where all the blue has come off. So let's put it next to a white from here. Honestly, you're not really going to get a better perfect match than that. The little white light's a little bit higher on this. This one's a little bit lower on the bottom, but you use these, you're not going to notice the difference. Maybe, I mean, if we're going to be picky, a little bit more yellow on this one, on the LED, but that's just being super picky. And now I have another white set. This is another, I think, fairly cheap white set, and we'll see how this looks. So even this isn't too far off. You know, like I said, some of the whites have gotten pretty decent recently. But actually this one does look a little bit better. It just has a little bit more yellow tint versus the other side. So the white, I mean, 10 out of 10, you're not going to beat that. But there's a lot of 9 out of 10. So, you know, price wise, this is probably way more expensive than these. I'm going to do another video where I kind of compare the colors a little bit more. I'm also going to try to do a video where I compare the colored lights to the True Tone lights, because we all know True Tone has kind of set a standard for really good lights, but they only do C7 and C9. So these mini lights, if you're going to mix them into a design or your house lights, curious to see how the light color is. So, like I said, these are the Vintaglow, these are the white, and then we have all of the colors. Let's just plug in all of them together, see what it looks like. And there you go, we got white and color. Kind of glad I didn't get too many white, because like I said, you can get white in fairly decent sets already, but the colored ones, yeah, like people have said, very good. I like that they're not as bright. I don't have a yellow right now to compare it to, but like I said, these are just bright enough to definitely look vintage. So I'm a big fan, actually. I don't use a lot of mini lights, but now I can find places to put mini lights. So thank you for watching, and we will see you in our next video.